Good morning, Morgan. Good morning to any of Morgan's friends that are joining us for this video. And I've got some great news. And the great news is there's not going to be a video TV62. And the reason is because somehow I took the information that was supposed to go in 62 and stuck it in 61. So that might explain why 61 was a little longer than it should have been. But it is what it is. Anyway, so we're going to go do the reading, and then I got some sample code we're going to run, and this is just more on class instances. All right? So with that, let's go ahead. Hold on. Let's not do that. Let's go over here, and let's start.
Python TV63. Instance objects. Now what can we do with instance objects? The only operations understood by instance objects are attribute references. There are two kinds of valid attribute names, data attributes and methods. Data attributes correspond to instance variables in Smalltalk and to data members in C++. Data attributes need not be declared, like local variables, they spring into existence when they are first assigned to. For example, if X is the instance of my class created above, the following piece of code will print the value 16 without leaving a trace. X.count.
All right, so I've taken this code and put it into some code along with the code that they're talking about that we did in the other video. And we're going to run that, and we're going to take a look at the output, and then we're going to try and once we see how it actually works, try to understand what they're talking about in this manual. Okay, that's what I do. I read on some of this text in the manual. It's difficult to follow. I like to read it once, then run the code, get it to work, and then maybe even read it again a second time to try and get the most out of it. And with that, let's continue our reading, and then we'll go run some code.
The other kind of instance attribute reference is a method. A method is a function that belongs to an object. In Python, the term method is not unique to class instances. Other object types can have methods as well. For example, list objects have methods called append, insert, remove, sort, and so on. However, in the following discussion, we'll use the term method exclusively to mean methods of class instance objects, unless explicitly stated otherwise. Valid method names of an instance object depend on its class. By definition, all attributes of a class that are function objects define corresponding methods of its instances. So in our example, x.f is a valid method reference, since myClass.f is a function, but x.I is not, since myClass.I is not. But x.f is not the same thing as myClass.f, it is a method object, not a function object.
All right, so they're talking a lot there about these adding methods to it. Okay, so like for instance here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop talking here and then get to the code so that we can look at this new code along with the code from yesterday's code on the same page, and then we'll continue this conversation. Okay, now we're in the code. Here's yesterday's code where we define the class and then we create an instance of the class. So when they talk about an instant object, I guess that's the verbiage or the text they want to do to frickin' try and make this harder to understand. Okay, what's an instance object? Okay, it's an object that was created using the definition that we created in the class. Okay, remember this, the statement here, the class statement that we've got here is describing the class, like the example of the car. This is a blueprint for the car, okay, and it's got I as an attribute, And and then there's this one function called f where it'll return hello world. Okay? All right. So in this statement, we're creating an instance object. That's what they mean when they say instant object. They're talking about the x. We're creating an x, which is this, right? And then we're doing something interesting here. Okay? We're adding something called a counter, okay, which is a variable, okay? This doesn't exist anywhere until right now. So you can add variables for the instance to use, okay? Which is, it's just a little bit more complicated than if we used to have it in the old code, where it would just say counter equals 1, and we would have while counter is less than. Do you see what I'm saying? See, all this X stuff is, if you took that off, it would still run, but it wouldn't be with the class. And why do we do this way? Because of the frickin' how the computer handles the internal memory. That's why. Okay? That's why this is a little more complicated. All right? Anyway, so you got the class, you create the class, and then you modify the class, like taking your car and putting better wheels on it, or getting a spoiler on it. We're adding functionality to the instant object, which is my class, a copy of my class. Then we run it, and then we delete it because housekeeping. You don't want it wandering around. All right. And with that said, we're going to run the code and we're going to take a look at it. Okay. Now, I modified this a little bit from the example because the print statement was outside of the while statement. Okay, so that when it printed, it just printed 16. But I put it in the while statement so we could watch how the while goes through its thing. All right, and now let's go ahead and run the code. Boom, boom, boom. The code ran, but you can't see it, but we're going to show it to you here in just a minute. All right, let's go. All right, here we go. Now we've run the code. What's the code do? 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Oh, wait, 16 is bigger than 10. Stop what you're doing. Do something else. And that's it. That's the end of the video. And we'll see you in the next one. Enjoy your day.